of Woodridge on this Thursday, April 7th, 2022. We welcome everyone this evening, and we're going to ask our deputy clerk to please call the roll. Woodridge, on this Thursday, April 7th, 2022. We welcome everyone this evening, and we're going to ask our deputy clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Krusek,
Present.
trustee Martinez,
Present.
trustee Blair,
Present.
trustee Kagan,
Present.
Mayor Cunningham.
Present.
Quorum is established.
Thank you very much. If you would please join us in a
Present.
moment of silence and in dedicating this evening's meeting to the memory and honor of Kyle Kozak, former and longstanding Woodridge neighbor. We are going to dedicate our meeting tonight in his honor. And we'd like to give our condolences to his parents, Don and Rhea Kozak, their family, their neighbors, and friends. Please know that our thoughts and prayers are with the Kozak family at this time. Now, if you would please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask that this be led this evening by our community development team here this evening. And Director Porter, Eric, and Roy are here this evening joining us. I'm going to ask if they would please lead the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this evening, we do have a special recognition item, and I would like to please invite Director Porter and Eric Alwyn and our new colleague at the Village in our Community Development Department, Roy, if you would please come up and join. Thank you all for being here this evening and welcome.
I was recently hired as our new building. Bachelor's degree, postdoc. All of Roy's experience, he's been able. Personal note, I've had the honor of serving with Roy on
Mhm.
and not leave anything undone. Elevated the professionalism and quality.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much, Eric, and welcome, Roy. We've heard just wonderful things. So on behalf of the Village Board and our entire community, welcome and thank you for hitting the ground running. We needed it. We appreciate it very much for all your dedication and hard work right off the gate. Thank you again and congratulations. I don't know if you want to say a few words, but
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you.
wonderful. And thank you again. We wish you the very best and welcome. Thank you so much, Roy. We thank you. And again, Roy, congratulations for joining the team at the Village of Woodridge. We do have two proclamations that we do want to share with everyone this evening, and I've asked our administrator, Al Stonich, to please just recognize those two proclamations for us.
Thank you, Mayor Cunningham. The first proclamation this evening is recognition of April 2022 as Sick Awareness and Appreciation Month. And then also, the next one is National Arab American Heritage Month, also in the month of April. And so we will enter those, into the official record. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're now going to move to comments from our public. This evening, we will pause to acknowledge any written public comments that have been received prior to our meeting that do not relate to tonight's agenda. First, we will recognize and enter those into our public record, please. Administrator Stonich.
Thank you, Mayor. We haven't received any written public comments, but I do know we have members of the audience here this evening who do wish to make a public comment on an item not related to the agenda.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to now ask if someone in our audience here this evening or at home, if we're via Zoom, I'm not sure if we're offering that this evening. Okay, so it's in person only this evening. If you do have a public comment that is not related to tonight's agenda, we would invite you to the podium and then we'll go ahead and give instructions right up at the podium there. So anyone that has a comment that is not related to tonight's agenda. Hi, good evening.
Mr. Glassberg, I'm sorry to interrupt you before you get going. I'm over here.
I'm sorry.
Over
Mr.
here. Just wanted to let everyone know what the ground rules are. You'll have 3 minutes. You can speak. I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and I'll let you know when your time is up. And thank you. I was also identify yourself by name and address, but you already did that. So
Thank you.
good job.
Water main is used. Driveway in the last house is our neighbor Gerald Lane. No one on our block knows it, or no one knows our block as well as. No one on our block knows as well as the fantastic workers of your water department. They're very good at what they do, and we're very happy with their work ethic. Unfortunately, MacArthur's water main is going to continue to have new breaks that are nobody's fault. As a result, our street looks like a quilt of 14 large asphalt patches, loose pebbles, rocks, cracked asphalt with rubber repairs that have come loose that I run over daily. Please take a drive and see it for yourself. I have not seen a worse street in this town. I've brought some pictures here. I would like you to look at them. They're yours.
Thank you.
You know, from beginning to end. And inconvenience. Dealing with half the shoveling season and half the mowing season, hitting rocks with lawnmowers, snow blowers, and shoveling by hand. I was recovering from a double hernia surgery during the February water main breaks. And thanks to my wonderful neighbors, we got through it. The mud and the clay tracked into the garage, the house, our cars, ourselves, and it's turned into a cleaning nightmare. Removing the silt from every plumbing fixture in the house on 3 separate occasions and knowing that our neighborhood was without water 3 different times is very upsetting. It's time to upgrade MacArthur Drive. Bring us a water system that we will maintain, or that that will maintain our property values, our quality of life, and allow us to return to drinking the water again. I would like to further discuss this when there's more than just 3 minutes. Thank you very much. I have other speakers here that would also like to say something.
Thank you. And if you would, just a moment, we would like to recognize that we've received all of your information
Oh,
directly. So please know that each one of us has received everything you've sent into the village, as well as our own, as we do work throughout the village. But I did want you to know that we've already received your information. Thank you very much for that.
and thank you for the phone call the day after. I appreciate that.
No problem at all.
And I would ask, sir, if you would fill out the speaker's card. The chief is going to give you one. And anybody else who wants to speak, please
Is
also
that-
fill out that card.
Thank you.
I have 3 neighbors. Yeah.
If it's allowed, if I can.
Absolutely, yes.
Feel
please.
free.
Yes, come on up. Any,
Again, just
So-
identify yourself by name and address and you'll have 3 minutes.
thank you
Hello,
and welcome.
everyone. Members of the board, my name is George Ossie. I live at 6316 MacArthur Drive, which is directly across from Bob. I'm actually going on my 50th year of living in this house. My parents bought it back in 1964. Obviously, since inception of that Winston Hills area, we've been members, residents of Woodridge, and very happy that whole time, obviously. Things get old, things break. The workers that have been fixing the water main, that's going on 60 years old, they've been outstanding. I really appreciate them, but I mirror a lot of what Bob has said. It's unfortunate, and he's taken the blunt of it the past 6 months. My main concern, though, with everything that Bob said, not to reiterate it, my main concern is the last time it happened, there was a lot of vibration in my house from the main water line coming out of the basement. And my concern is not if, but when it's actually going to start affecting the houses from turning on the water and turning it off. I did have one of the workers come in during the last time and they were monitoring it. They said if something happens, but it obviously can't be good. And I think the main water line, I think what's in consideration is when is that going to happen? And is it going to be a chain reaction? The line's going to the houses and then adversely the ones that are actually in the house, in the foundation. It's a major concern of mine because who is going to be responsible? And I know it's a huge cost, a big undertaking to take this main water pipe. I can't imagine what the monitoring, what it's going to be, but let's outweigh what's going to happen down the road. Are we going to have to hit every home? Is it going to be a chain reaction with happening issues outside of the home and the line going into each house? I just think it's a matter of time. And that's a really big concern of mine right now. Being this longtime resident, I have to think of my options. So really, that's all I had to say. I really appreciate all of your time, though. And I would like to further talk about it if we do have further discussions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Good evening.
How you doing? My name is Paul Thayer. I live across the street from Bob also at 6320 MacArthur. I've been in the village now for 25 years. And again, echo the same sentiments from George and from Bob. My background a little bit, I come from a double facet and stuff like this. My father worked for Streets and Sand for the city of Chicago for over 50 years, doing sewers and doing water lines. So I'm familiar with, what he used to do. And I myself am a chief engineer over 1.8 million square feet, a rather large building in Chicago where I'm in charge of that exact thing for my facility. And like Bob said, workers, they're doing everything they can. I fully understand that. However, in my line, if that were to keep happening, repetitive, same location, same items, same thing, my boss would be looking for my head. Not saying that we should be looking for their heads, but there's something going on there. That section that's in front of Bob's house, there's something just isn't right. I don't know if, I know they're doing, excuse the language, Band-Aids, because they're not pulling out the complete section and redoing it. They're fixing this one, this part that broke, and they're going, fixing this one, and now there's a third Band-Aid. So we got Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids. And again, it isn't just his house that's affected. There's other houses, my house, like George said, had the vibrations just like he did. I'm familiar with it again from me being in my line of profession, but it's still, it's unacceptable. This is not right. And, you know, we pay a lot in our taxes for this stuff to be kept up and taken care of. So we'd appreciate whatever you guys could do. Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much. Thank you. Would anyone else like to please address? Good evening.
We have one additional speaker card. There we go.
Ms. Furman?
Good evening and welcome.
My name is Susan Furman. I'm at 6301 MacArthur Drive. I'm the corner house. I'm downhill from all of the debris that comes down the street. I am in agreement with all of my fellow blockmates about the inconvenience and the shaking of the house and everything that's been mentioned. What I want to address is the amount of pebble and dirt debris that comes down the hill and congregates on our corner. Now, we have the main sewer grate right on the curve of the corner, right on 63rd Street. All of these rocks and pebbles and dirt are coming down in torrential water for hours on end, swamping the entire corner, but also going down into the storm sewer. Afterwards, after the break has been taken care of, there are lots and lots of pebbles. I've got pictures just a half an hour ago of all of the debris that is still there on the corner, in the gutters, and approaching the storm sewer. Now, I do go out there and try and rake the pebbles off the storm sewer, but where am I supposed to put them? Now, all of that is impinging on yet another component of the village property. You're getting all those rocks into your storm sewers. So that's my statement for the evening, in agreement with all of the rest of my blockmates. Thank you for
very
your
much.
time.
We thank you very much.
And it's in the packet that I gave you, her house,
Okay, thank you.
last pictures.
Going to ask if there is anyone else who would like to address the village board this evening, please. Okay, we thank everyone. We'll go ahead and move to now. Yes, I'm actually going to ask Director Bethel of our Public Works Department if he would please come up and respond for us. At least give a little bit of information to be helpful.
Sure, absolutely. I do want to thank everyone for the kind words on the staff and the Public Works Department. They're 100% in agreement with you. They do not want to work in the middle of the night in the freezing cold, and they really do try to resolve things as quickly as possible and, you know, as least impact as possible, kind of get the construction that's going on. So what I wanted to do now was try to give a little bit of background and context as it relates to kind of this infrastructure, and then talk a little bit about kind of MacArthur specifically, and then talk a little bit about next steps.
So I'm going to just explain just for a moment. When we are in our meetings and the person that is speaking unfortunately has their back to you, we do apologize. The meetings are televised, and in order to pick up the television, we have to face this way. So I do apologize that sometimes our backs are to you when we really want to address you directly and speak with you, okay? So Director Bethel, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought it was important just to point that out.
I feel bad every time
I
I
know.
walk up here like that. So, and again, they were great points. They were right on point as it related to not just really water main, but those same comments and themes apply to all the infrastructure the village is responsible for, whether it's the roads that were brought up or sanitary sewer or water main or trees, everything that the village works on. So I think everyone here knows, but for the benefit of the audience, Woodridge is a relatively young community, having been incorporated in 1959. I think in terms of an analogy, Woodridge is probably reaching middle age. So we're not doing repairs anymore. You're looking at rehab and full replacement, which kind of like my right knee. I think we're ready for full replacement on that. So now I've only been with the village about 18 years, but I think what the mayor and board here previously has consistently done, and this mayor and board is always kind of look toward infrastructure investment, trying to make sure it's monitoring that infrastructure and it's reinvesting in it for the future and setting aside the right amount of funding. So just as an example, because roads were brought up, that is something where we continuously do studies on our roads. We plan for the rehabilitation of them. As they've aged, those rehabilitation techniques have changed from just kind of milling the top 2 inches to doing full depth resurfacing to doing full reconstruction, really taking the data and trying to find out what's the most appropriate rehabilitation technique to apply. Getting back to water and sewer specifically, and so just as far as funding for it, water and sewer is an enterprise fund, which means it's not competing against road improvements for tax dollars. It's not competing against tree replacement or storm sewers. It's solely funded by the revenue that comes in from the ratepayers in the water and sewer system. So that's something, as everyone knows here, and as we kind of talk about next steps, during the budget process, the Finance Department and Public Works talk about water and sewer infrastructure, how it needs to be funded, and something the board's been diligent about is trying to make sure enough money is set aside to pay for the maintenance, to pay for capital improvements like water main replacement, but at the same time, not increasing those rates too quickly or too high on the ratepayers that are funding it. So just to talk a little bit about infrastructure work that's out there right now. So we're in the process of design on the water main replacement on 75th Street. That was noted as one of the priority water mains. It's going to be, approximately, kind of given what the market and supply chain issues are, it's going to be over a $2 million project. We should be going to bid here shortly. We've already done the bidding, and construction is going to start on May 1st with the painting of the standpipe, the water tower located at Boughton and Woodward. It had reached that age that it needs to be maintained. That's about a $1.3 million project. Menningwell Lift Station, our oldest lift station, carries the second heaviest flow in town, also has reached that age for replacement of most of the infrastructure. It's about an $800,000 project. Our water meters in town have reached that age for replacement and are especially important. Water meters start to slow down over time. So you're actually losing revenue if you don't have accurate meters. And so that's, again, it's about a $3 million project. So not to go through all of them, but just to talk about, it's something the mayor and board has done is to set aside money for replacement. And we've spent a lot of time talking about water mains specifically. So I want to just kind of briefly talk about MacArthur. So just kind of for the benefit of orientation here. Okay, so this is really kind of the northern 2/3 of the community. That blue arrow there is pointing to MacArthur Drive. That southern part of the town is not shown because, one, it's newer, there aren't a lot of repairs, and two, part of that is actually Illinois American's water system. So on MacArthur, it was installed in 1965. It's a 6-inch cast iron main. It is a very long street, as Mr. Glassberg had alluded to. It's just under a half mile. Cast iron has about an 80 to 100 year lifespan. It was the standard for the 60s. Right now, kind of current standard is ductile iron, which is 100+ year life. Now, when we talk about it for planning purposes during the budget, we always talk about 75 to 100 years of what to expect, whether it's ductile or cast. And again, there are things that can happen out there that can impact the life. Because again, this was installed in 65. You're really talking, it's about 57 years old. It's not even really close to where its lifespan should be. But there are things that can happen that can reduce that lifespan. Years ago, kind of the standard is it was direct burial of that main. Today, there's a stone bedding that's put underneath it. And part of the reason for that is to make sure that as the ground freezes and thaws and as the pipe flexes, it's got that ability to move. Cast is a lot more rigid than ductile. And with that direct burial, if there's a stone in the trench or something, it has the ability to potentially create a break. One of the other big issues, and really what kind of at least our theory is as it relates to MacArthur and really across the entire town where we've had a very large increase in the amount of water main repairs is it's weather driven. So when you have a drought year and that ground really dries out, things start to shift underground. And then when you get to a winter following that, historically, I think the last time it happened was 2005 with a drought followed by a winter and a huge uptick in repairs. And again, is what we saw here on a MacArthur. There was one in the summer, one in the mid to late fall, and then two in the winter that had happened. Three of those, as Mr. Glassberg had said, right next to his house. So when we're doing a repair, the staff is out there and they're inspecting everything in the hole. And sometimes they may see visible areas of deterioration outside of where it's usually a hole or circumference crack happens, and they would then cut out that section of pipe and replace it. In these repairs in MacArthur, there wasn't anything else that's visible when they're doing that repair. And so they put on a repair sleeve over where that hole is. It's the normal kind of repair technique. You're not going to cut out main that otherwise appears to be good. That being said, we never really know. And so just like here, unfortunate circumstance that there can be another repair that happens right in the same proximity of the first. But there are sometimes we see that deterioration and we're going to come back. And that happened on Gatewood. You remember earlier this year, we came back and did some valve and hydrant work, a section of water main replacement that we had noted there was deterioration in prior repairs. It wasn't something that we could do right on the spot, but we planned and came back to it. So it is something as we identify it, we try to come back and do that work. So what I want to kind of lead into to at least conclude for this part is really where does that leave us? Staff is in 100% agreement on what the residents had talked about as far as the road pavement. And we actually had planned for the full depth resurfacing of MacArthur Drive this coming season. And then after we had those two repairs in February, staff had pended that and said, what we don't want to do is put down a brand new road and then tear it up or continue to have other repairs there. So there are some patches on the road. Some of those patches are related to previous repairs. Some of those patches are just as we proactively go throughout town, we do that work to kind of carry the pavement forward until we get a chance to do the full replacement of the street. So the village in 2019, we had selected Christopher Burke Engineering, CBEL, to come in and do an update on our water model as well as to evaluate. And the water model is really a computer generated simulation of our water system that we can look and analyze when we're doing repairs or we're doing modifications to the system. And we had CBEL do, a host of other kind of water system related evaluations. And so one part of that 2019 study is this heat map here, where it kind of helps to show you hotspots in the community where you're having more water main repairs. So this data is from 2000 through 2019, which was really what we had collected when they were doing their report. So one of the things I'd mentioned before, and you can kind of see it's right in the middle of the page. Again, one of the redder orangish areas is 75th Street. So we're working on that design now. As that gets out to bid and is underway, what that really will lead us into is in the summertime, as we get back into the budget process and we talk about the funding in the water and sewer fund and what are the priorities for future capital improvements, and not just in 2023, but those capital improvements over the next 5 years that we start to plan for and project, what the water rate increases can fund. So one thing I do want to be clear about is, and really for the residents on MacArthur too, just because an area may not be red doesn't necessarily mean it may not be a priority for replacement. So this is a heat map as it relates to repairs. But there's lots of factors that go into as we evaluate that. It's age of the material. It is the number of repairs definitely plays a factor. Are there road improvements that are planned? What kind of material is there? Where is it located in terms of the criticality to the rest of the infrastructure when there is a repair or a shutdown that needs to happen in order to come up with, here's kind of the logical recommendation of why you would want to tackle a certain area next. So I wouldn't be able to say right now that this is or is not what the next item should be when we get to the point of looking at funding, what money is available to then start evaluate and taking the data from 2019 to 2022 and say, okay, here's what the current data is actually showing in order to help prioritize those repairs. I know one of the resident questions was, knowing it's probably an expensive endeavor, just to kind of give a sense of cost. It's about $1 million to do the water main replacement on MacArthur from end to end. And that being said, we're going to find out a lot better what the market yields as we go out to bid on 75th Street. There is some supply chain issues. There are some shortages on material, contractor shortages, but we'll start to get a sense at least of what the current market will cost us to do that work. We certainly, and again, trying to tie back and close it up, we try to do cleanup, as far as shoveling and scraping the road and washing things down. The staff do try to keep an eye on areas. If there is cleanup that needs to happen, we would encourage residents call in if there's something though that with rain or traffic that something's getting broken up, and we would definitely go out there and clean it up just till we get to the point of being able to do the restoration. Restorations don't happen immediately as well, because you also want the ground to settle out a little bit from that excavation, whether it's in the parkway or the road. You do it too quickly before the ground has settled, the repair is going to fail, and you're going to, and by repair I mean the pavement or the parkway, not the main itself, and you'll be coming back to do that repair again. So it's kind of a balancing act. We want to get in there as quickly as possible, but not so quickly that repair fails. So I'll be glad I can give the residents my card and number, and so that way if they want to talk further, myself and the other staff can do that. But if there's other questions the board has, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Director Bethel. Would like to just respond. So I know that we have a lot of information. Our budget season is generally late summer into early fall. And all of the information is always posted out on our village website, e-news, et cetera. And you are invited to any budgetary meetings that we ever have. So that is also something that we would invite you to attend if this is something that impacts you directly. But even before then, we asked our administrator, Stonich, and we'll contact Director Bethel to follow up personally with you after this evening. And we thank you very much for being here, everyone. Okay, thank you so much. We're now going to move to comments that are related to our agenda this evening. Going to ask if we have received anything prior to our meeting that do appear on tonight's agenda, and ask those to be put into our public record. Anything, Mr. Stonich?
Mayor, we have received no written comments in advance.
Okay, thank you very much. Now going to ask if we have anyone here this evening that would like to address the village board with regarding items that do appear on our agenda this evening. Okay, thank you very much for being here, and seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move to our omnibus agenda. Going to ask, please, for a motion to approve items A through D and the acceptance of items E, F, and G.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Cruz. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Martinez. Any request for any item to be addressed separately this evening? Seeing none, I'm going to ask our administrator to please review our omnibus.
Thank you, Mayor Cunningham. Members of the board, good evening. First item A, ordinance 2022-20. It's an ordinance granting a minor amendment to a site plan for 840 South Frontage Road and 800 South Frontage Road. This is in relationship to Hendrickson's signage. Item B, ordinance 2022-21 is an ordinance granting a minor amendment to a site plan. Address is 77 Larchwood Lane. This is Murphy Elementary Generator for School District 68. Item C, resolution 2022-34 is a resolution to approve a waiver of zoning application fees for the minor amendment to a site plan, 7700 Larchwood Lane. This is also the Murphy Elementary School Generator. Applicant is Woodridge School District 68. Item D is resolution 2022-35, resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a water and sewer service agreement between the village of Woodridge and Prologis. The address is 1111-131 Catherine's Crossing. And item E, our previous board minutes. Item F are the accounts payable registers for March 11th, March 18th of 2022. Final item G, credit card registers for January of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask our Deputy Clerk Halleck, please, to call the roll.
Trustee Blair,
Aye.
trustee Kagan,
Aye.
trustee Krusik,
Aye.
trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving along to the mayor's report this evening, and I do have a report asking please for our neighbors throughout Woodridge to share your ideas on updating the Village of Woodridge zoning code. The village is updating our zoning ordinance, which was adopted back in 1976 and then updated in 1991. While amendments have been made occasionally, This is the first comprehensive update. Zoning is the main regulatory tool used by local governments to manage the use and form of development on private property. The ordinance update will happen over the course of a year with a goal completion date by the latter part of 2022. Please visit the Woodridge zoning website for more information and to share your ideas and to learn more about this important initiative. The village is hiring full-time seasonal employment through the Woodridge Public Works Department. There are positions available and you can find out information on the village website and note the Woodridge Human Resources portion. Woodridge businesses, the SBA loan deadline is approaching on April 18th. The U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA, is reminding small businesses in Illinois that April 18th is the filing deadline for federal economic injury disaster loans due to the tornado which impacted our community on June 20th, 2021. The loan amount can be up to $2 million with interest rates at about 2.88% for small businesses and 2% for private nonprofit organizations with the terms of up to 30 years. For more information, please visit the SBA loan website. And upcoming DuPage Department of Transportation construction may impact Woodridge residents, 87th Street and Bounton Road project. The DuPage Department of Transportation plans to start a road construction project on or about April 18th that may affect Woodridge, our neighbors, and right at the corner of 87th and Bounton Road. The details are listed and can be found right on the on the DuPage Department of Transportation website. You can find that at DuPage Department of Transportation on their website, or you can call the county. We thank you very much for all the information, and please do not hesitate to reach out to anyone here at the village if we can ever help you with any information. That is my report. Administrator Stonich.
Thank you, Mayor. First item A, Resolution 2022-36. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute amendment number 2 to the agreement related to design build services between the Village of Woodridge and Harbor Construction, subject to final village attorney approval. This contract is in the amount of $1,837,882.50. And this enables us to begin preliminary site work and mass grading for the new police and public works facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Going to ask, please, for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-36.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Blair, and a second by Trustee Martinez. Any discussion on this item? If our deputy clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Blair,
Aye.
trustee Kagan,
Aye.
trustee Krusek,
Aye.
trustee Martinez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item B, Resolution 2022-37 is a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a certain agreement for Phase 2 design engineering professional services between the Village of Woodridge and Thomas Engineering Group LLC. This is for the Woodridge Drive reconstruction project, which is from Hobson to Center.
Thank you very much. Going to ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-37, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Martinez, and a second by Trustee Krusek.
Yep.
Any discussion on this item? If our deputy clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Kagan,
Aye.
trustee Krusek,
Aye.
trustee Martinez,
Aye.
trustee Blair.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Final item this evening, item C, Resolution 2022-38 is a resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a certain agreement for design engineering professional services between the Village of Woodridge and Thomas Engineering Group LLC. This is for the Janes Avenue reconstruction project from Spring Street to 75th Street.
Thank you very much. Going to ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-38, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Krusek, and a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Kagan. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, if our deputy clerk would please call the roll.
Trustee Krusek, trustee Martinez,
Aye.
trustee Blair,
Aye.
trustee Kagan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, everyone. We do thank everyone for being here this evening and joining us remotely or from home. Please take good care. And we thank you for staying connected to the Village of Woodridge. It's very important for all of us. And please do keep shopping local and shop Woodridge. It helps our community tremendously and our businesses. And with no further business to discuss this evening, we do have the need to have or convene an executive session meeting following immediately our adjournment. The purpose of the executive session is to review and discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals of the public body, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees and their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, pending, probable, or imminent litigation. Going to ask for a motion now to please adjourn our regular meeting of the Village Board. Motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Blair. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Martinez. All those in favor, please sign aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion does carry. We are adjourned, and the time is 7:41 PM.